You know what time it is, 'cause The View is live. Trump rising? The president's approval ratings keep climbing. Are Democrats doomed? And should his speeches come with a parental advisory? Jonesin' for love. The heartbreaking message SNL's Leslie Jones shared with her fans, and why a lot of people feel the same way she does. Plus, four-time boxing world champ Layla Ali on how she feels about controversial ex-NFL star Colin Kaepernick winning the award named for her dad, Muhammad Ali. And Yvette Nicole Brown's back to guest co-host. Hot Topics are in the house with Whoopi, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Brown is back at the table with us. And as you may or may not know, it is February 1st, which means it's Black History Month.
Yes.
All 28 days of it. And today we wanted to shine a light on a woman who made Black and American history alike, Sojourner Truth. She was born a slave. Circa 1797, she escaped to freedom, devoted her life to taking on issues impacting Black Americans and women. Now, from 1828 to 1865, she won 3 court cases against white people, possibly the first Black person to do so. The first lawsuit freed her son. The second was for slander. And she even helped to desegregate streetcars in Washington, D.C. Sojourner Truth is also responsible for one of the most renowned speeches on racial and female inequality called Ain't I a Woman? So normally we would highlight all kinds of Black folks, but we thought highlighting women this year would be different from what we've done before. So in the coming, 4 weeks, we'll be bringing you all kinds of folks that had a lot to do with changing how things have happened in our country and moving us forward. So now let's get to some hot topics. So the guy in the White House is enjoying some newfound popularity. His approval rating has just jumped up to 42% in a new poll. So there's... Yeah.
Oh, he has a fan.
There are lots of folks who say, hey, what do you think that's from? So I ask you, hey, what do you think that's from?
Aren't people pretty happy with the tax bill? I think there's a majority of people feel that they're getting bonuses. The people that were let go and fired after they got the bonuses aren't happy. But but I think for the most part, maybe the tax bill gave him that bump.
I think that he's a very good publicity person for himself. I believe that he has no problem speaking up about things that are great in the country, whether they were because of him or not. And I think that most people don't do the research to find out that maybe an economic upswing or something going great may have already been happening before he got in office. So I think that if all they hear is we're doing great and it's because of me, and they stop there, then they might go, well, he's all right, I like him as president. I think
it's the tax cuts, I think, mostly that are doing it. I mean, people don't understand we're running up a deficit because they're giving tax cuts to very, 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 very wealthy people, and that will lead to cuts in Medicare and Social Security, which is what Republicans have always wanted to do anyway, was to dismantle all of the social institutions that have kept people afloat all these years. That will happen. That will be something that will be a result of these tax cuts. And because you get a $20 raise a week, you're ready to throw the whole country under the bus? Really? Come on.
What do you think?
Obviously, I disagree with everything Joy just said, but I think
You do agree?
I disagree.
Oh, you disagree with every single thing?
Every single thing you just said, Joy, I disagree with. You know, what's interesting is there's a pro-Republican trend in the generic ballots in recent weeks, too. And Real Clear Politics polling says Democrats' advantage peaked at 13% just before Christmas and has come down to 7.5% now. So I would actually comment on the Democrats as well. Shutting down the government, Chuck Schumer, it was an entire political fail on his part, and he ended up getting the majority of the responsibility for it. I also want to say, Democrats going forward, I'm not sure what the party stands for besides being the impeachment party. The party that hates Trump. And we see this ideological divide when you have Congressman Joe Kennedy giving one address after the State of the Union. When you see Maxine Waters giving another address, you see Bernie Sanders giving another address. And I think ideologically, for whatever reason, I'm not sure. I don't know if you're the party of socialism in the way that Bernie Sanders wants, if you're a party of sort of more moderate in the way that Joe Kennedy seems to be.
I think we're the party of all of those things. That's
I think that I think there just has to be a cohesive message. I thought that Make America Great Again had brilliance to it because it was so simple, whether or not you agreed with it or not. And I'd be interested to know what the cohesive one-line tweet message is.
Do you think the Republicans are cohesive?
Wait. I think that the idea that you can sum up what we are in one line is a big mistake, because it's not a catchphrase. This is like lives of people. We are the party that says, listen, some of our parents came from far away. Some of us were brought here. Some of us were raised here. But most people came here for a better life. That's what America has always promised. That's why people come. Now, is it possible that people can find a different way, a better way to come? It would be great if we could help them, help the people that have already gotten here. Yeah. But neither side can seem to do that. We are also the party of, listen, I don't have to agree with you. I just have to know that I am allowed to be who I am. If it's on abortion, you don't ever have to, not you, but one never has to have an abortion, ever. But you cannot say to someone, because I believe this, you can't do this. That's part of what the Democrats are.
It also seems to me what you said about the Democratic Party can also be said about the Republican Party, because I think I've seen a real divide with Republicans. You have, it came with the Tea Party, and then you have people that are far right. There are people that are more moderate, and if you look at, there are 40 GOPers that are resigning from Congress, and so my question is,
I don't know why people are clapping for that, by the way, because if this is a liberal audience, the GOPers that are resigning are more moderate.
Yeah,
but that's the thing.
Jet Flake. It's people that ideally would be working with the other side. So I think when we're talking about American exceptionalism in the way that Whoopi just did, American exceptionalism should be bipartisan. It should be a bipartisan thought.
Yes.
In general, I think most Americans would believe in that. But I will say, talking about it shouldn't be summed up in a tweet, I agree. I don't think any party should be summed up in a tweet or a tagline. Unfortunately, this is the era we are living in at the moment.
As far as his poll numbers are concerned, trust and believe he'll say something stupid pretty soon and the numbers will go down.
And I think that if there's any mistakes that the Democrats have made, and I'm a Democrat, is that we believed that people listened and learned about what was happening. And I feel like now what's happening is that we're like, well, you've seen this, though. Why are you still believing in him when you've seen that this is what this man thinks? We need to realize that what he's doing is working. This smoke screen, this vapor, this mist, this distraction, look here, look there, it's working. So this idea, the lying. So the idea of thinking, well, we just need to lay back and let him do what he does and people will see him for who he is, that part is not working.
That's right.
So we have to figure out how to play the game.
No,
but it's not working in his own party. That's why you have the moderate Republicans that are leaving the party.
But with all due respect, we're in power right now. We control all three branches of government. It's working. I just told you the trend is continuing in a pro-Republican trend and that it's going down. Again, you are right, Joy. God knows what could happen on his Twitter account in the next few days. Right. But I do think what you're saying to me is, Republicans, you have all the problems. You have all the problems. Impeach Trump. At a certain point, you're going to have to look inside your own party and come up with what you think the message.
In this, because we have focused too much on Trump. Trump is here maybe for...
I don't focus on
well, no,
him
I'm saying
he's not the issue.
He's not. That's what I'm saying. I think that the focus too much has been on him. I think that while we're focusing on him, kids don't have health care right now. So it's like, what... You can look at the shiny object, or you can focus on the things that actually affect the majority of people. The only problem I had with, well, I have a lot of problems with the tax bill, but every time they talk about the tax bill, they talk about a typical $75,000 making home. I don't know a lot of people making $75,000 a year. Most people make less than that. So when you base the benefits on people that, in my opinion, where I'm from, East Cleveland, that's wealthy. That is filthy rich. So if you're basing what works for people based on what someone who makes $75,000 a year makes, you're leaving out half of the country who don't even know what that's like.
Exactly.
So it just,
So, in part, I mean, one of the things that you said, you know, that I think we all can agree with is it is not a good thing when moderates leave. It is not a good thing. It's never a good thing. So perhaps we need to, and I've been saying this for many, many months, we have to find the people on both sides who get what the American dream actually is. And go ahead, I'm sorry, baby.
The only good thing about these Republicans leaving, these moderates, is that once they're out of office, they seem to tell the truth. Watch Jeff Flake, watch that other one, Corker. Corker, is that his name? They start talking the truth because they don't have to run again.
Why are they leaving? In office who are Ben Sass being.
Do you guys want to continue this conversation?
I want to know why they're leaving.
That's not what I asked you. Do you want to continue the conversation?
No, let's talk about Sarah Sanders.
Okay, we'll be right back with more Hot Topics.
Strong. It means standing up for what you believe.
We definitely have things to stand up against in this country right now.
It means women standing up together.
There's women who are standing up and saying, no, me too, and I'm going to watch out for my sisters on set.
It sets an example for any other abuser that their time is up. We're not done yet.
Oh, you know. It means telling it like it is.
Sorry to puncture your heroes, but sometimes these heroes need to be better. You are so brave. This is about how to be brave in the face of adversity.
You strong.
We will back you up. We will stand with you.
And we're only getting stronger. We're The View on ABC.
Hey, welcome back. Did you want to finish up this conversation?
I'm just curious as to why you have so many people fleeing office in the Republican Party as opposed to staying there and sticking with the party. I don't
moderate
understand
Democrats
it.
have been leaving as well. I think just being moderate, like I would be curious to know if you like someone like Joe Manchin, who was standing during the State of the Union when a lot of Democrats were sitting.
Well, I like some parts of him, but he believes that there's such a thing as clean coal, which is an oxymoron.
But he has a difference of opinion for you. And again, I think in both parties there's this bloodletting of anyone who wants to compromise in the middle in any way, and it's terribly sad. And I mean,
I think the far right then is taking over the Republican Party.
I think Trumpism is.
Yeah.
And
I think that's why people are leaving, because it's not, you can't seem to run a campaign anymore. Exactly. It is a bloodbath. I have to talk about you and how your dad ate the people and how I beat up. I mean, it's a whole thing.
It feels to me like it's becoming a reality show.
Well, it is a
because the whole nation is watching all of these shows, and no shade to those who like them. But the whole point is, you do something horrible, then you take a little private moment and do your little talking head about why you don't like Mary and Mary don't like John, and that's what the little hallway things are with the congressmen. Yeah. They catch them in the hallway and they do their little talking head, and then all the pundits talk about what to talk. But meanwhile, the nation is suffering.
You know, Joe Scarborough this morning said something I thought really smart. He said, you know, the founding fathers created this country, basically. The Constitution has three parts to the government. There's the judicial branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch. They have what they call balance of power and checks and balances. And that was really to stop somebody like Trump, in a way, who was a dictator and a demagogue.
Right.
But they could never foresee that the Republican Congress, or either one, it could be the Democrats, whatever, would be so compliant with this dictatorial behavior.
Right.
That is the real issue. I think he hit it right on the nail, on the head today with that. Paul Ryan and all these people who are backing Trumpism need to be taken out of office in November.
Well, it brings us to an interesting conversation, which I'm going to jump over this, because I think it's really... Someone was floating the idea that we should maybe find parental guidances. You know, when they say to watch this or I don't watch much TV. I know it's crazy. When this particular man speaks on television, because one side is saying, well, you know, it's really hard for kids. You know, it's hard for me. My wife doesn't like them. I do like them. You know, my kid is walking by going, you know, down with this. And it's like, I don't want that in a 6-year-old, you know. Or should we try to find a different way to have the dialogue?
Well, I don't know that a parental advisory every time the president is speaking is appropriate. It feels a little like censorship to me. But I will say when he made the comment about and also talked about Haiti, where my husband's family is from, I had to have a very difficult conversation with my kid because I was fearful that he would get to school and someone would say, oh, your family's from... Because some kids can be mean. And it was so hurtful to me that that came from the President of the United States. And so, you know, and what does that do to our children? Because I think our children, people aspire to be the president. You know, when you ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they feel that the presidency is so sacred. But when you see this coming from the top, I wonder what effect is that going to have on children?
Yeah, there used to be a time when there was something really magical about the White House, something magical about being the person that takes care of people. Because when I thought of the president, I thought of him, and hopefully one day her, as the person that cares about everyone, and that he or she would put aside what they personally want or believe to make sure that the majority of people under their care were okay. And this is the first experience I've had where I don't trust that the man making the decisions cares about me, really. I don't believe he does. And it's not a Republican or a Democrat thing, because we had a nice conversation about your dad in the commercial break. I believe your dad is the kind of man that if he were president, he would care about everyone. His policies might be different than what I would want for everyone, but he has a heart. I don't believe your dad would have been the man that would say any country is not welcome. So it's not Republican or Democrat. There's something about this man in particular that is sullying what we believe this country was supposed to be, and that breaks my heart.
But we've seen it before.
No, we've seen
it with Nixon.
Yeah, Joy, we've seen people, but even Nixon had more care about the Constitution and the office of the president than this man.
That's true.
Even Bill Clinton, for all of his things, he was still trying to do stuff that took care of people. This man.
Well, you know what? Now that you mentioned Bill Clinton, you know, when he had that affair with Lewinsky, kids were now feeling that this type of sex, you know what it is, was okay.
Was not sex. It wasn't sex anymore either.
It has a real effect on children.
I agree with Joy on this, but it is just as bad. And I remember when I was in my formative years finding out about oral sex from President Clinton and having a very uncomfortable conversation. I'll never forget hearing about it when I was in the car with my father, and his staffer was like, did you hear about this thing? And he goes, God, put the thing, and immediately took it off speaker. I'll never forget that. But I will say, I don't have children. I'm not a mother, so I don't know what age is appropriate for what, but I will say, talking about violence in the Iraq War, talking about oral sex, things like that, obviously there's incendiary language used in this presidency, but even when he was campaigning, I remember him talking about his hands and being like, this size. That was the moment that I remember physically reacting and being like, you know, this is a different level. But I will say that I don't believe in I agree with you, I don't believe in censorship in general. I think whatever you want to teach your children, they should be aware of what's going on in the world. And unless it's completely, even like the have a conversation with your son and say, this isn't appropriate.
I was forced to.
It's a teachable moment.
It is a teachable moment.
It is a teachable moment, but I just want to put this out because you know, we grew up under very different regimes. You know, there was a time in this country, in my lifetime, when my mom could not vote, okay? So everyone wasn't always that welcoming, but it wasn't, you knew there was a fight going on.
Right.
And everybody was involved in the fight. It was a tussle. Everybody was involved. It was different colors. It was all kinds of folks. And I just feel now that we don't because we're not seeing that for our children, they're not seeing the fight back against this kind of language. They're not seeing the fight back. It's not being touted. We don't speak this way. This is not how we do things.
Yes.
Because I think we have to re-educate the man at the top and remind him that little kids are listening.
They are listening.
They are listening, and we have to find a better way. Yes, I know we got to go. We'll be right back. Just a second ago, we were talking about cameras, because we, you know, sometimes we take pictures in between and stuff. And we were talking about the different kinds of cameras, and talking about the cameras like the Brownie, where you had it and it was this big and it took, you know, 4 weeks to get. Do you realize that fewer people took their clothes off?
Oh.
With those cameras, because you had to send the film out.
Well, but a lot of people did. I used to work for a company called O'Henry's Filmworks when I was in high school. The number of naked pictures that would come in, and I was like 16. I was shocked. I mean, it was
but in your shock, you did not send those pictures to anybody else, did you?
No.
Those pictures came in.
They were up on a board.
No, well, yeah.
Were they?
But they came in, but nobody knew. Nobody knew who was who.
I learned a lot.
When you're 16, it all looks the same.
I learned a lot.
Speaking of, Cardi B had one of the standout performances with Bruno Mars at the Grammy Sunday. And she says, even though she's thrilled at her success, she was a little bit happier when she was less famous and had less money.
Okay.
Anybody relate?
Okay.
No.
Okay. I am not famous by any stretch of the imagination. I see myself as, Whoopi, stop. I see myself as recognizable, okay? And that's enough for me. I often meet people that say, I meet people that say, you know, they want to be famous. They crave it. And I don't understand why someone would want to have people following you and taking your picture. And it just feels claustrophobic to me. And I remember a quote that Harrison Ford said. He was a carpenter before he became Han Solo and Indiana Jones. And he was working in someone's house right before Star Wars came out. And he heard them talking about Star Wars, not knowing that he was in the house. Han Solo was in there hammering nails. And he said in that moment, he mourned his anonymity, because he knew that when that movie came out, it was going to be over. And I'm saying there are certain people that enjoy. There's pluses to being known. You can get into stuff, go to the front of the line, and you got money and that kind of stuff. But then there's also some humanity things that you give up when you become well known. Yes, Whoopi.
You don't give up. Listen, you don't give up your humanity.
Well, humanity things.
Like what?
Like being able to go somewhere and not have people staring at you.
Yeah.
That is not a humanity thing.
That's not something you have
No,
as a human?
no, that's not. No. Are you kidding? In the world where
everyone
everybody
stares.
is, everybody is. You know, that's different.
But you're
Go
right.
to the supermarket.
I go everywhere I want to.
But this is the thing. This is the thing about Whoopi. Whoopi has not changed and has not let anything that comes to her change her, which is, I think, rare and special. A lot of people do not have the presence of mind to be able to go, I am standing firmly in who I am, and no matter what happens, I'm not going to change who I am.
See, I don't think that's true. I think what happens is people around you change.
That's true, too.
They change how they perceive you.
That's true. Yeah.
Now, we see you, and we do think of you as famous because we know the shows you've been on, we know what you've done, we know your performances. That makes, yes, for these folks, that does make you famous. And so, you and all of us here, and all of us at this table, have the obligation to do one thing and one thing only. Be polite when you can.
That's true.
And if you don't want to sign, say, listen, right now, I just don't want to, because the idea that people believe that they can just come into your space and do stuff should not change if that's not what you're about. Yes, I see.
But I know what she's talking about.
No, I get it.
Let me just say, because you're talking about anonymity. I was at Costco one day, right? No makeup. I look really bad. And so a woman comes over and she goes, oh, Joy Behar likes a bargain too, huh? The answer is yes, she does.
Well, the answer is Joy Behar always liked a bargain. Before she got famous, that's what she liked.
And a discount.
And who doesn't love a discount? And we're just who we are. It's the same stuff, man. We just want to shop and buy food that tastes good. You know? We'll be right back. You know, we have a friend called Kathy Griffith, and, you know, she's controversial. Sometimes she's up, sometimes she's down, and, you know, people are wondering, is it time for her to make a return? She's on the cover of the Hollywood Reporter. She's taken a lot of hits for a bad mistake. But is it forgivable? People said during one of the New Year's broadcasts, you know, ooh, I miss Kathy Griffith.
Yeah.
So, you know, can you, in this day and age, step in it, realize you're in it, wipe it off, step back out, walk a little bit, you know, and then make a comeback better and stronger?
Well, she apologized already, and I mean, I think when you have this president who steps in it and stays in it, and it doesn't stick, I mean, I think absolutely she should have the opportunity to come back. I mean, her career has been exterminamed.
I know.
Do we have no forgiveness?
I think it's enough with the punishment. She suffered quite a bit.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that photo of her holding Trump's head, I literally gagged because I didn't understand what it was, because I thought that maybe, God forbid, someone had been beheaded. There are people out there, obviously, you can forgive her. I used to be a big fan of hers. I remember buying her book and watching her specials. I thought she was very funny. She still is. But there are some artists that when you take such an extreme political tone, I won't see Sean Penn movies. I would never consume anything she puts out in the world again. And it's not just about, you can dislike the president, but even at the time, I don't think anyone on this show defended that photo she took. And it reminded me of ISIS and what ISIS does to our soldiers and people over there. And I do not forgive her. I do not want to have anything to do with her. I mean, I don't control this show, but if she came on this show, I would definitely have some words for her. And I think it's fine if some people want to forgive, but I think it's a much more difficult road for me.
Well, you opened the door to a conversation which we don't have time to have, which is, do you boycott the artist because you disagree with the artist's philosophy?
We talk about this a lot.
I do that.
I mean, you just said you won't go to a Sean Penn movie. I mean, I wouldn't go to a Mel Gibson movie, frankly. But he's not that talented, truthfully. If they're really that good, I would go.
Because there, before the grace of God, go us all.
Well, it depends
We'll
on
be
the
right
set.
back. No.
I'm coming up next to tell the ladies all about my new cookbook and which is harder, fighting in the ring or fighting my 6-year-old to eat a vegetable.
Tomorrow on The View, you know the topics will be hot when Amber Tamblyn co-hosts.
TGIF.
Plus, a Republican senator who's not afraid to speak his mind. And we're cooking with Rachel. Tomorrow on The View.
Undefeated boxing world champ Laila Ali obviously knows the right foods for her body, and she says in her kitchen, nutrition is king, but flavor is queen. And her new book, Food for Life, will have you cooking up comfort food with a healthy twist. Please welcome the most fabulous Laila Ali. It is fitting that you're here on first day of Black History Month. That we are actually talking about American and great women of color. You've been an inspiration to so many sports fans, especially women, but wasn't easy coming up as a female boxer.
Of course not. I mean, just being a woman, first of all, a lot of people hadn't seen women's boxing yet. They didn't think that it was something I should do. It's like, and then they're like, oh, you're too pretty. You know, how are you going to do it? What's going to happen when you get hit? All these things. And when you're an athlete...
I know, you did. Look at how beautiful
I
she
know.
was. I will say I
did think that. I thought, oh my goodness, she's going to get hit in that pretty face.
It's natural to feel that way, but I would say, well, what, if I was unattractive, would you feel more comfortable with it? I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand, but yeah, and then being Muhammad Ali's daughter, having that spotlight on me when I was learning something new, you know, so it was,
footsteps.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't have had it any other way. It made me work really, really hard, harder than I, probably needed to.
And do you see more women entering boxing still?
You know what? It's still, boxing has just kind of been going up and down. You know, it hasn't had the same audience that it did before because the fights and the matchups aren't really there. But, women's boxing's in the Olympics now. It wasn't there when I was, I didn't have that opportunity to go. So I think that's given it a new platform and a little bit of new life, so that's good.
Yeah. Layla, we're hearing so much about the Me Too movement right now and all the abuses in U.S. gymnastics. Obviously, it's unreal that this went on for so long, but what do you think we need to do to ensure equality and safety in women's sports?
Yeah, it's been crazy just seeing all that's going on. It's not going to stop. I think more and more information is going to come out. And I think what we're doing now is great, bringing awareness to it, letting people that are thinking about touching some. I mean, I have been sexually assaulted as a kid by 2 different family members. So I can definitely, I mean, but I know how it feels to have that yucky feeling that you just can't take off of you ever. And you dream about it, and you think about it, and it's just not right. And I love that these women have courage to come forward, and I think we need to show young girls, because I wish someone would have done that for me when I was little, that it's not right, and it's okay to speak up, and you don't have to feel like you did something wrong or feel dirty.
Let's talk about your dad, who was not only a great boxer and a champion, but an American icon. Absolutely the bravest person of his generation. So he stood up for what he believed in and went against everybody who turned on him. He did not care. He said what he believed. We so admired him. So, Sports Illustrated Muhammad Ali Legacy Award. I have to read that because I can't remember that one. There is such a thing. And it's been given this year to Colin Kaepernick. So, my question to you is, what would Muhammad Ali say about that now?
I think he would be so impressed with Colin Kaepernick, just to see somebody stand up like that and have the courage, because he knew that what was going to happen. There was a possibility of losing his job, and he's just been a catalyst for change. And I remember when everyone was like, what is he doing? It wasn't about the kneel. It wasn't about that. And he's really shown that as he's followed through. I follow him on social media, and I see what he's doing, and he's really made this his life's mission. And I think it's absolutely amazing.
You can see from the Colin Kaepernick story how your father, what he had to put up with. It was the same idea.
And Colin has given millions of dollars to communities of color and children, and people should know that about him.
Exactly.
I want to talk about your cookbook, because I cook, and I love the concept, because you say it's more important to focus on foods you can add to your diet as opposed to foods that you take away from your diet. What do you mean by that?
Well, the thing is that I think people are overwhelmed right now because there's all these different food theories. You're supposed to eat like this, you're supposed to eat like that.
No carbs.
No, exactly. And it's really about balance. And I think that a lot of times what I notice, especially at the top of the year, people are like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to do this diet, and then they fall off the wagon. And you feel bad about yourself again. And you start to kind of expect to fail. And that's not good. And what I try to say is, like, if you think about what you can add to, give yourself a nutritional boost every day, like if you're eating, even if you say you're going to get junk food every day, but you're like, I'm going to eat 1 salad a day, or I'm going to get a salad before every meal. Just do something.
That's me.
Yeah.
No, I love some junk food. Are you kidding me?
But
I'll have a salad.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. Just have something. A salad, a shake, something.
Something green.
Well, we have a problem with diabetes and obesity and cancer and all these different things that come directly from our lifestyle choices and the way that we eat. So that's why it is so, I'm so passionate about trying to encourage people to just take steps, not just going over the top. I don't even go over the top. So.
Well, okay.
What?
No, but I've been out to restaurants with you, and this is what I have to say. She never eats bad. I've never seen you eat bad, Layla. I haven't. I've seen you make
Look,
good
I'm like, yes, I do.
I've seen you eat good, make good choices.
She's an athlete.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. To be honest with you, I do on, like, this, I have my cheat weekends. It's supposed to be a cheat day, but it turns into Friday and Saturday and maybe sometimes Sunday. So, like, we'll go out to eat on a Friday with the kids. It might even just be pizza. Then we go to the yogurt spot, and I put caramel and nuts and everything on my ice cream. Or I'll do a peach cobbler a la mode, or I'll go get a donut, and I don't feel bad about it.
Right,
because
the rest of the week.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, one of the recipes in your book is not necessarily a healthy recipe, but it's one of your dad's favorites.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
What's
so
that?
my dad, I dedicated a burger to him. It's the greatest of all time burger because he used to pick us up from school and he used to take us to this little hole in the wall. And he used to order his burger with mustard, cheese, and onion.
Yeah.
No, just mustard, cheese, and onion. But this meat was seasoned up so well. I remember it. I can remember it to this day. So I recreated that burger, but of course, grass-fed beef, whole wheat bun. So
all right.
Yeah. That's too much for you? Come on, let me know.
You know,
We love a burger.
well, I used
I'm
to.
gonna make you a green shake in the back before I leave.
Hell no.
Commercial break. I want a green shake.
I will walk past the green shake, but I'm not going to drink it. I'm not going to lie. But you know what? Listen, you have to come back and co-host with us and just hang.
I would love that.
I think that would be really great. Thanks to Layla Ali. You can catch her as host of Home Made Simple on Saturday mornings. Her book, Food for Life, is available now. And you know what, y'all? Yes, you know. You all going home. We'll be right back.
How did a fictional online character inspire two 12-year-olds to do the unthinkable?
What were you trying to do with her when you stabbed her?
Kill her. I might as well just say it. We were trying to kill her.
Tomorrow night on 2020 at 10 p.m. Eastern, David Muir takes you deep inside the Slenderman stabbings, the attackers, the victim, and the parents trying to make sense out of the madness.
I never would have imagined that my daughter was capable of hurting another person.
Multiple stabbings with the intent to kill.
Yes.
Hey, so, you know, we're really glad that you're watching today. We had a good time. I think we had some good conversations. We hope that it inspires you all to do the same. We want you to have a great day. Take a minute to appreciate life and take a little time to enjoy the view.